My mother is a domineering female president with more than a dozen boyfriends and a group of admirers behind her. She has 2 daughters. My father is the best-looking one. So I came into being. My mother wants to keep me by her side. But my father refuses and insists that my mother dismiss her harem. In the end, the 2 of them had a falling out. He took me back to our hometown. Later, my mother gave birth to a son and was obedient to the child's father. My father blames me for not being a boy. Otherwise, my mother would definitely agree to have only him. He threw me to the bachelor in the village. And I was tortured to death. When I opened my eyes again, my father pushed me in front. As long as you agree to dismiss them, I will stay with my daughter. I pushed my father away and hugged my mother's thigh, crying, "Mom, I'm with you. I don't want to leave you. You are the only one I love the most." My mother was happy and threw me a black card. "Good girl. Use it freely." Later, I threw my father to the old bachelor in the village. They were extremely excited. "One Linda. Do you know what day it was yesterday? I waited for you all night. But you slept in someone else's arms. I'm really fed up. Now you have to choose between me and them." My father's angry voice came to my ears. It took me a long time to confirm that I was reborn. Reborn on the day when my father insisted on taking me away from the Yvonne family. In my previous life, he used me to threaten my mother. Is my mother someone he can threaten? Doesn't he know his position in my mother's heart? If my mother hadn't wanted to choose someone with good genes and he happened to be good-looking, I wouldn't even exist. As a result, they had a falling out. My father forced my mother to give up on me by threatening with death. He took me back to the countryside. He thought that as long as I was there, my mother would compromise sooner or later. As a result, my mother gave birth to a son. My father went crazy. He blamed me for not being a boy. Otherwise, my mother would definitely agree to have only him. In the morning, he whipped me. In the afternoon, he threw me to the bachelor in the village. I was tortured to death by them. After I died, he pretended to be pitiful and went to find my mother again. Unfortunately, my mother didn't like him anymore. My mother asked about my situation, but he stammered and couldn't say anything. Later, my mother found out that he was the one who killed me and killed him, and threw him into the sea. I looked up at my father. "Ethan, wait. I must let him experience the bachelor in the village well." Ethan mouthed to me, "Be obedient." He wanted me to cooperate with him and threaten my mother together. Dream on. In this life, I have firmly held on to my mother's thigh. My mother rubbed her temples. "Okay. Don't make trouble. Later, I will take you to buy a sports car." My father's eyes were full of grievance, as if his weak heart had been hurt again. Since I can remember. On the one hand, he kept muttering about staying by my mother's side, a grieved lie because of love. On the other hand, he enjoyed the material things brought by my mother. He likes money and sports cars. But he doesn't like my mother talking to him in this tone. If my mother begged to buy him a sports car, he would feel comfortable. He is that kind of man who wants to have his cake and eat it too. My mother's face didn't look good. She has always disliked disobedient men. And my father insists on jumping around in her restricted area. Ethan always thinks he is handsome and my mother can't give him up. Only in this way can it show that my mother is different to him. He gave me a look and pushed me in front. "As long as you agree to dismiss them, I will stay with my daughter." My mother's face darkened. "Ethan, don't be unreasonable." My father looked at my mother with teary eyes. "I'm not. I just love you so much. Every time I see you being nice to others, I feel so sad. So fake." He loves money more. His biggest dream is to marry my mother, and then live off her family fortune. I pushed my father away and hugged my mother's thigh, crying, "Mom, I'm with you. I don't want to leave you. You are the only one I love the most." Ethan was full of disbelief. He didn't expect me to betray him. My mother was happy and threw me a black card. "Good girl. Use it freely." I took the black card, quickly put it in my pocket, and shook my mother's hand. Mom, don't be angry. My dad is not sensible. But I am sensible. Ethan's nose was crooked with anger. He pointed at me with trembling fingers. Yvonne, if you don't leave with me, I will never want you again. That's great. I don't want him either. My mother snorted. It's just as well if he don't want us. I'll ask my assistant to draw up an agreement. Sign it and leave quickly. Anyway, I only want Yvonne. Whether you stay or not is up to you. My mother has a lot of boyfriends. She really doesn't lack him. If it weren't for my existence and my mother didn't want me to lack fatherly love, he would have been driven away long ago. Ethan's eyes were red. Linda, didn't you say you loved me the most? What do you mean now? Do you think I'm old? Can he believe this? Even dogs don't believe it. Okay, if my mother really loved him, how could there be a bunch of boyfriends? Ethan himself also knows that he used me as an excuse and got a lot of money. In recent years, his appetite has gradually increased. He wants to get married and live off my mother's family fortune. Unfortunately, my mother would rather die than get married. My mother replied inferently, if you think so, there's nothing I can do. They are indeed better than you. At least, they are more obedient and easier to coax than you. For Ethan cried. He regretted it. He didn't want to leave anymore. He is almost 30 years old and is no longer young. It's very difficult for him to find a rich woman again. He knows that if I don't leave with him, he will never come back. Linda, I was just joking. Wherever you and your daughter are, I will be there. With you. I have a home. My mother glanced at him and then touched my head. Yvonne, what do you say? I looked up at Ethan, who was extremely nervous. He looked at me pitifully. Yvonne, our family of 3 must be together so that we can give you a complete childhood. I don't need him to give me a complete childhood, but I will give him an unforgettable old age. I blinked. Dad, didn't you say that you and Aunt Chen Xiang are a family? Chen Xiang is my father's college classmate. They used to date. They are each other's first love. My mother snatched Ethan from Chen Xiang with a house. They agreed never to see each other again. In recent years, my mother didn't pay much attention to Ethan. They secretly dated. Sometimes they would even take me as a cover. My relationship with my mother is average. Every time I see her, I dare not speak. Knowing their relationship, I won't tell. My father is very relieved of me. Ethan raised his hand and wanted to slap me. I threw myself into my mother's arms and asked with confusion on my face, Mom, why is my dad angry? My dad is with Aunt Chen Xiang's family. I want to be with your family. 5. My mother looked up and coldly at Ethan. Tell the truth. You know my temper. Once a man betrayed my mother. She broke his 3rd leg and then let him go. Ethan shook his head vigorously. No. I only love you. How could I be with others? Yvonne is only 10 years old. She doesn't understand anything. She is talking nonsense. Don't believe her. I took out my phone and found the photo of my father and Chen Xiang in the movie theater. Although the photo is very blurry due to poor lighting, it can still be seen that it's my dad and a woman. My mom touched my head and said, Be good. Go play upstairs. Mom will have a good talk with him. I turned to look at Ethan. His 2 legs were shaking. Linda, trust me. Okay? My mom didn't even pay any attention to him. I sighed and walked upstairs. I really wanted to see how Ethan lost his 3rd leg. Ethan called out to me from behind, asking me to plead for him. Dream on. After I went upstairs, I deliberately closed the door heavily. Then I took a telescope and quietly returned to the stairs. Ethan was kneeling on the ground and crying. Linda, please forgive me just this once. I will never dare again. I will never be jealous anymore. My mom picked up the stool beside her and smashed it on Ethan's head. You have 2 choices. Either die or lose your 3rd leg. Before my dad had a chance to choose, his head split open. Blood flowed all over the place. My mom didn't show any mercy at all. Ethan collapsed on the ground. His face pale. He wanted to faint but didn't dare. Because he knew that if he fainted and woke up again, he might not be a man anymore. He looked at my mom pitifully. Please. For Yvonne's sake. Give me a chance. I will sign any agreement. I will never appear in front of you again. My mom smiled. She took the wet towel handed over by the bodyguard beside her and calmly wiped the blood on her hand. What are you? What does Yvonne's face have to do with you? Do you think you can leave this door without signing the agreement? Wow. My mom is so cool. Athol was full of horror. I really know I was wrong. Just let me go. He couldn't bear to part with his third leg. My mom was too lazy to deal with him. The assistant handed over two agreements. The bodyguard was holding a sharp knife. Ethan struggled to prop himself up and, with trembling hands, signed his name on the agreement. Linda. I've signed. Can I leave now? My mom shook her head. You've been by my side for more than 10 years. Don't you know what kind of temper I have? Do you cut it yourself or do I have someone cut it? Ethan was so scared that he peed himself. He looked at my mom with teary eyes. Linda. I'll give you the house, the car, and all my savings. Will you let me leave? My mom doesn't lack that little money. She glanced at Ethan and then turned to look at the bodyguard. So disgusting. Clean it up neatly. She picked up her bag and walked upstairs with a calm expression. Athon was wailing in pain. I quickly and quietly returned to my bedroom. The room was soundproofed. And Ethan's voice stopped abruptly. I was still very happy. Just after coming back, I disabled him. Awesome. Compared to the tragic state in my previous life, I've been very gentle. Knock. 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 It was the sound of knocking. I quickly put away the smile on my face and pretended to know nothing. I'm only 10 years old this year. I really don't understand anyway. When I opened the door, my mom was standing outside with a smile. Ethan's painful cries came in. My mom closed the door and touched my head. Don't be afraid. Mom just gave him a lesson. And I like this lesson. I nodded obediently. I know it's Dad who's wrong. He already has Mom and shouldn't be with Yat Chen Xiang. Mom. They were together the year before last. I wanted to tell you, but Dad wouldn't let me. He said that if I told you, you wouldn't want me anymore, and would kick me out of the Yvonne family. Mom. I like you the most. I'm afraid you won't want me. My mom's eyes were red. She hugged me tightly. Full of doting. Be good. Mom likes you the most too. Mom will always want you. From now on, you can say whatever you want. I had a sour feeling in my eyes. After floating by her side for more than 10 years after death, I couldn't go anywhere. I hugged my mom and cried bitterly. I was so wronged that I couldn't hold it back at all. Clearly, I should have lived a life of luxury. But my dad threw me to an old bachelor. The more I thought about it, the more wronged I became. I hugged my mom and cried loudly. My mom was extremely distressed. She took off a jade bracelet from her hand. Yvonne, this is Mom's favorite bracelet. I give it to you to calm you down. Tomorrow Mom will take you out for a stroll again. The ancestral jade bracelet is worth tens of millions. My mom especially likes this one. I really want it. But I can't ask for it directly. I still have to pretend to refuse so that my mom can give it to me from the bottom of her heart. Mom. I'm already very happy that you want me. Sister likes jade bracelets very much. You should give it to sister. Yolanda is my half-sister. She has always liked to bully me since childhood. Her dad is very capable and helps my mom manage the company. I can't afford to provoke her. However, it's still possible to give her some trouble. My mom's eyes were full of distress. Did your sister scare you again? What Mom gives you, you can rest assured and take it. If she dares to find trouble with you, come and tell Mom. I'll beat her to death. So my mom knows that Yolanda often scares me. She just didn't want to deal with it. I lowered my head and a hint of sneer appeared at the corner of my mouth. Alas. No one can be relied on. Only money will never betray me. Seeing that I didn't speak, my mom immediately became impatient and her voice cooled down. Take it. She was never a person with a good temper. After floating for more than 10 years. I know her too well. I immediately put the bracelet in my pocket and looked at Linda with a moved expression. Mom. Why are you so good to me? I really want to cry. Linda smiled. Obedient babies are the cutest. The next day, my sister and I were having breakfast. My mom came downstairs with a young and tender handsome guy on her arm. Very tender. The kind that seems like you can squeeze water out. My mom has good taste in men. At least there is no problem with looks. I said with a smile. Good morning. Mom. Mom is so beautiful. Yolanda was full of disdain and muttered softly. Brown no scr. Oh. Here comes the chance for revenge. I stared at her firmly. Yolanda. What do you mean? Mom is really good looking. I didn't lie. I said it from the bottom of my heart. Yolanda panicked. She shook her head vigorously. I didn't say Mom is not good looking. I just. Her eyes were filled with tears. But she still couldn't say a word of rebuttal. My mom looked at her coldly. I originally wanted to take you and your sister out for a stroll. Now forget it. You stay at home and reflect on yourself. Yolanda was so angry that her eyes were on fire. I said in a pretentious way. Mom. Sister didn't mean it. Yolanda picked up the phone in front of her and threw it at my head. Yvonne. I don't need you to plead for me. Your dad has been kicked out of the Yvonne family. What are you staying here for? I turned sideways and quickly ran to my mom. Mom. I don't want to leave you. Don't drive me away. With a bang. The phone fell on the ground and broke into pieces. Linda walked past me and slapped Yolanda on the face. Did your dad teach you all these words? If I hear it again. You and your dad can get out together. My Yvonne family doesn't want ungrateful people. You are not that important. My mom loves no one except herself. Yolanda covered her face. Looking incredulous. A little handsome guy beside my mom held her hand and examined it carefully. Sister. Does your hand hurt? Oh my. Your hand is all red. Shall we use a stick next time? Impressive. He is even better at flattering than me. My mom's mood immediately improved a lot. You go pick a car. Sister will pay. The smile on the little handsome guy's face couldn't be stopped. He took my mom's hand and kissed the back of it. Thank you. Sister. Sister is the best. I want to be with sister forever. My mom softly uttered "and Mian," and took the little handsome guy's hand and walked outside. After a few steps, she looked back at me. Yvonne. Do you want to go shopping with Mom? There are new arrivals at the jewelry store. You can pick a few pieces just in time. Jewelry is money. I must go. I quickly ran to my mom and held her left arm. It doesn't matter whether we buy anything or not. As long as I am by Mom's side. I feel very happy. The little handsome guy on the right arm glared at me. I didn't even pay any attention to him. He is just a man. Maybe he can only stay by my mom's side for a few days. I don't even want to know his name. Linda was very happy and directly asked the driver to drive to the jewelry company. The smile on the little handsome guy's face became more and more fake. He still thought they would go directly to the Ford store to pick a car. He is still too young. At most, he can pick a car worth $1 million or so. But when it comes to jewelry, it's hard to say. There are many worth tens of millions. As long as he can coax well, anything is possible. My mom is still very generous. Especially to the person she likes now. 12 When we arrived at the jewelry store, there were already 2 waitresses waiting at the door. They led us to the SVIP room. The decoration is very luxurious. The famous paintings are hung on the wall. The furniture is gold and Ninmu. The chandelier is made of crystal. It is real crystal. Not the glass beads that are everywhere outside. Even the water we drink is bling H20 decorated with Swarovski. It costs several thousand yuan a bottle. Not long after we sat down, the manager came over with a group of waitresses. Each person was holding a tray with a piece of jewelry on it. The manager stood at the front and introduced. Each piece of jewelry has a name and a story. It is full of ceremony. My mom listened very carefully. I pretended to listen very carefully. In fact, the roll one's eyes give a dirty look. Inside me was almost rolling to the sky. Enough already. It's better to buy gold. It is what it is. The price won't increase dozens of times because of a story. Linda picked several. She likes jewelry with collection value. Of course. The story also has to be good. She handed a box to me. This one suits you quite well. I remember this one. It's called Pink Ocean. It's a 5-carat pink dime and worth more than 8 million yuan. The story is also very warm. Of course I like it very much. The little handsome guy opposite had red eyes. He leaned close to Linda's ear and whispered, "Sister, I want it too. I'll be at your disposal tonight." My mom glanced at him and took a box from the table. It was a black jade with landscapes carved on it. It was very beautiful but only worth more than 1 million yuan. The little handsome guy's face darkened. Obviously he was not happy. He pointed to the big dime in the middle. "Sister, I like this one." 13. My mom looked at him, and a hint of sneer appeared at the corner of her mouth. This man really overestimates himself. Even I, her own daughter, don't dare to pick by myself. He actually dares to ask for the most expensive one. I'm afraid I will never see him at my house again. Lyndon nodded with a smile. "Waitress, wrap it up for me." The little handsome guy was extremely happy and moved his mouth towards my mom's cheek to kiss. My mom poked him away with her index finger. "Take it and get out." The little handsome guy's face flushed instantly. "Sister, don't be like this. I don't want it anymore. Okay? Unfortunately, it's too late. My mom only likes obedient people." Linda crossed her arms and looked at him inferently. "No way. If you are not obedient again, there will be no diamond either." The little handsome guy was full of anger. "Why? You brought me in yourself. Sister, you said last night that you like me the most and you will also buy me a car. I gave you my first time. How can you let me leave? Wow. First time? It sounds so fake. Anyway, I don't believe it." Linda looked at him coldly. "Do you think I just let you take a physical examination? I know your ancestors for 18 generations very clearly. Good. 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 She is worthy of being my mom. My dad and them have to go for physical examinations every month. The reports are directly sent to my mom. She has a very strong sense of safety." 14. The little handsome guy suddenly stood up. "Sister, I'm wrong. I'll take the diamond and leave. Okay?" Linda glanced at him and nodded. The waitress quickly wrapped it up and brought it over. My mom looked at me with a smile. "Yvonne, remember, no matter how good-looking a disobedient man is, don't want him. Your dad has a problem with his brain. Don't learn from him." I nodded obediently. Mom is right. I want a lot of money. Being obedient is what I should do. This is much better than working. The little handsome guy took the diamond, said thank you and ran away. My mom looked a little unhappy on her face. I don't know if it's because she is distressed about the money or something else. She picked 2 more pieces and left with me. As soon as we went out, we heard someone scolding my mom. "Baby, I served an old woman for a week and only earned 500,000 yuan and a diamond. Just thinking about it. Damn it. I had already picked out a car. It's your favorite bright red color. But it's ruined. Baby, this diamond is worth more than 10 million yuan. Let's sell it and buy you a big villa and famous brand bags. I only love you. She is just an old woman. She is not even worthy of carrying your shoes. Every time I am with her, I have to turn off the light. And all I think about is you." Linda's face flushed with anger. She held my hand tightly. "Yvonne, today Mom will teach you a lesson. Watch carefully. Thinking from another perspective. That little handsome guy is quite good to his baby. But can I say that? Of course not. I gently held Linda's hand back. Mom, as long as you are happy. Anyway, I will never plead for him. 15 Linda's fingers were flying on the phone. Before long, the little handsome guy was lying in an abandoned factory in the suburbs. The diamond appeared intact in my mom's hand. The little handsome guy stared at Linda angrily. What do you mean? I accompanied you for a week. This diamond is what I deserve. My mom whipped him. Me, an old woman? You ate and used mine. How dare you scold me behind my back? Do you believe I can kill you? The little handsome guy's face turned pale instantly. He said carefully, Sister, you must have heard wrong. I like mature women the most. The older, the more I like them. Oh my God. Young man. Do you know what you are saying? I couldn't help but hold my breath for him. He still doesn't understand my mom at all. Linda clapped her hands. A group of aunts around 50 years old came in from outside. They surrounded the little handsome guy and touched him from time to time. The little handsome guy was so scared that he trembled. Sister, I'm wrong. I will never dare again. Will you let me leave? Sister, please. Unfortunately, my mom didn't even look at him. Don't you like old women? I'll send a group of them to you. She turned to look at the aunts. Take good videos and send them to me. The details must be in place. The little handsome guy cried. He was tied up by 2 aunts. Sister, help. I will definitely be obedient in the future. My mom smiled. Don't cry. Wait until I send the video to your baby. Then you can cry. The little handsome guy was full of despair. Linda took my hand and left. Yvonne, when dealing with enemies, you must never be soft-hearted. This sentence is so true. It's time for me to act. 2 days later. I went to find a private detective. Seeing that I was young, the boss didn't pay any attention to me at first. Then, I took out 2 gold bracelets. I have a black card, but I dare not withdraw cash. I can only go to a gold store and buy a bunch of gold jewelry. Hard currency is very useful. I bought a bunch of gifts for my mom and Yolanda. Anyway, the black card is my mom's. Using her money to buy gifts for her also makes her think that I am very good. This is simply perfect. I asked the boss to take photos and preferably videos of Ethan and Chen Xiang. Chen Xiang has a husband. He works as a bouncer in a nightclub. All the money he earns is used for gambling. When he loses money and is in a bad mood, he will beat her. After Chen Xiang got together with Ethan, she wanted to divorce. But her husband wouldn't agree. Every time she mentioned it, he would beat her. Even the police were useless. Because of this, Yvonne was extremely distressed. 3 days later, I received the photos and videos sent by the detective. Yvonne still had bandages on his head. He and Chen Xiang were living in a villa on the mountainside. They didn't get out of bed for 3 days and 3 nights. Even when eating, they were in bed. Did they forget about Chen Xiang's husband? Didn't he lose his 3rd leg? Could it be that my mom didn't cut it off in the end? I guess Ethan must have bribed the bodyguard with a large sum of money. This villa was still given to Ethan by my mom. She actually didn't take it back. The sports car in the garage was also there. They were living quite a comfortable life. I picked some photos with more revealing content and sent to videos as well. As soon as I sent them, the person on the other side called immediately. I hung up the phone and then sent the villa address to him. Knowing that I wouldn't answer the phone, the person on the other side sent a sentence, "Thank you." Not long after, Chen Xiang's husband sent me a long series of photos. 17 Ethan and Chen Xiang were both naked and were beaten and paralyzed on the ground. Blood flowed all over the place. This time, Ethan really didn't have his 3rd leg anymore. I could see it clearly. In the end, the ambulance took them away. I had a good sleep peacefully. The next morning, Yolanda was knocking on the door vigorously outside. I rubbed my eyes and opened the door. Sister. You'd better have something important. Yolanda had a sly smile. My good sister. I heard that your dad was beaten and disabled. Even his lifeblood is gone. Don't be like your dad and only pick those who have families. My eyes glanced at Linda at the stairs. She was walking towards us. Sister. Don't blame me. I said pitifully. Sister. I am now with Mom. I am from the Yvonne family. Dad did something wrong. He deserved it. But I didn't do anything to harm the Yvonne family. Don't drive me away. Okay? Yolanda looked at me with disdain. Your dad's genes are no good. How good can you be? Give me your black card. In the future, you have to listen to me. She was right. My dad is very bad. So, I am not a good person either. Just wanting my black card? She can ream on. I shouted with red eyes. Why? That was given to me by Mom. Even if you beat me to death, I can't give it to you. Moreover, I only listen to my mom. What are you? Half of my body has my mom's genes. If my dad is no good, can't my mom be good? Yolanda often bullies me. When there is a chance for revenge, I will never let it go. Yolanda snorted. I am the eldest daughter. I will inherit my mom's property in the future. What do you think I am? Yvonne, you don't even have a dad. How can you compete with me? Be obedient and I'll let you live. If you are not obedient, I'll let your dad give you to a group of old bachelors. Old bachelors? Could it be that in my previous life, it was her who instructed my dad to give me to an old bachelor? If that's the case, Yolanda, you can't escape. I looked at her in shock. Sister, how can you treat me like this? Mom is still young. You already want to inherit her property? I am very disappointed in you. If Mom hears what you said, how sad she would be. Linda was getting closer and closer. I pretended to be surprised and looked at her. Mouthing the word Mom, she made a choosing gesture to me. I understood immediately and stood quietly without making a sound. Yolanda said viciously. Yvonne, what are you pretending? Who would think they have too much money? I will make the Yvonne family the richest in the country and be on the Forbes rich list. My mom will only be happy for me. Yolanda is only 14 years old this year, but her goal is very clear. If she were smarter, maybe it could really be achieved. In my previous life, Linda left all her family property to her son. Yolanda only got a little bit of shares. If she were more honest, the dividends would be enough. But she was not reconciled and kept causing trouble for her younger brother. In the end, Linda sent her to Africa and she never returned. Isn't it not good for you to do this? Mom is only in her 30s and can still live for 80 or 90 years. You already want to inherit the family business now. What about Mom? If you are really so capable, you can completely go out and make your own way. Are you embarrassed to use the results of others' decades of hard work to be on the Forbes list? My mom nodded at me. It seemed that she was very satisfied with me. In my previous life, I floated by her side for more than 10 years and learned a lot about dealing with people and matters. 19 Yolanda was so angry that her eyes were red. She raised her hand and wanted to hit me. The money of the Yvonne family was all earned by my dad. Why can't I inherit it earlier? Yvonne, kneel down for me. Otherwise, I won't be polite. Now Yolanda is only a teenager. A few words can make her angry. I raised my head and looked righteous. I won't kneel. You don't deserve me to kneel. I only listened to my mom. What are you? Linda was very satisfied with what I said. With a slap. Yolanda was slapped on the face. Her slap didn't hit me. Instead, my mom slapped her. Yolanda, what should I do with you? She turned to look at me. Yvonne did a good job. Later, I'll give you a villa. Wow. If that's the case, I can continue talking nonstop for 3 days and 3 nights. Yolanda knelt down with a bang, kneeling neatly. Mom, I'm wrong. I was just too angry. Yvonne's dad betrayed you. He got together with his first love. I just wanted to vent your anger. Obviously. She was changing the subject and also wanted to lead the topic to my dad. I looked helpless. Sister. I've said many times. My dad is my dad. And I am me. When he chose to leave the Yvonne family, I had nothing to do with him anymore. I also want a super capable dad. But can I choose? Sister. Sometimes I envy you. As I spoke, I cried. I was as aggrieved as a child. A glimmer of distress flashed in Linda's eyes. And then she slapped Yolanda again. Yvonne. You don't need to envy her. You have a mother. I will be very good to you. This was exactly what I was waiting for. 20 I threw myself into Linda's arms and looked at her pitifully. Mom. I don't have a super capable dad. A dad who can earn money for mom. I only have you. I said, super capable, very loudly. I was hinting at him. Linda was even more distressed. Yolanda's face was distorted with anger. She was driven out of the villa. Her dad came to pick her up. His face didn't look good. His eyes looking at me were full of scrutiny. Can't I be extremely intelligent? Can he still see that I am reborn? Linda told him to educate Yolanda well in front of me without giving any face. I held Linda's thigh. What was I afraid of? I also added fuel to the fire. Uncle. Sister is so happy. She has such a powerful dad like you. She said that the Yvonne family was all earned by you. Several slaps landed on Yolanda's face. Yolanda looked incredulous. Dad. You actually hit me? You actually hit me for a bitch? You have never hit me before. I hate you. As soon as she finished speaking, her dad gave her several more slaps. Judging from the sound, he didn't show any mercy at all. Yolanda covered her face and looked at me with a vicious look. Yvonne. You wait. After saying that, she turned and ran away. Her dad looked at me with a smile. Yvonne. Don't take it too hard with her. Uncle will beat her again when we get back. It must be because the nanny was whispering in her ear that she would say these things. Yolanda is too naive. I nodded obediently and looked at Linda. Mom. Don't blame sister. Okay? Sister is too easily deceived. It must be someone whispering nonsense in her ear. As for who said it, my mom is not stupid. Yolanda's dad's face changed instantly. He took my mom's hand and looked at her affectionately. Linda. Trust me. Anyone may betray you. But I won't. If I wanted to do something, I would have taken the Yvonne family into my pocket long ago. Well said. But my mom doesn't believe it anymore. She shook off the man's hand. Get out. 21 after they left. Only Linda and I were left at home. A bitter smile appeared on my mom's face. Suddenly, I feel it's quite meaningless. There are so many men, but not a single one is sincere. Since it's originally a money transaction, is sincerity so important? Unexpectedly, my mom wants sincerity. Coming from Linda's mouth. It always feels ironic. I took her hand and said seriously, Mom, I am sincere to you. You have such a big sincerity from me. Moreover, as long as Mom is happy, why care about other people's sincerity? Linda touched my head. My Yvonne is so smart. Yes. Even a 10-year-old child knows. How could I not figure it out? I will focus on my career. Men are just pastimes. Yvonne. Do you want to be my only heir? Of course I do. Billions of assets. Who wouldn't want them? I blinked. Yes. I want to be as excellent as Mom. The next day, I had 5 more tutoring teachers. Even my sleeping time was clearly arranged. If I weren't reborn, I definitely couldn't stand it. The teachers were very satisfied with me. They all said that I not only studied seriously but also had a high IQ. I quickly became the child of someone else's family. Linda was very surprised and became more and more satisfied with me. The look in her eyes when looking at me was full of affection. I heard that things were getting more and more chaotic on Yolanda's side. I heard that Linda took back the money given to Ethan. Now he is physically disabled. He has no money. Chen Xiang doesn't stay with him anymore. 25 years later, I became the recognized heir of the Yvonne family. My mom didn't have another son. She likes me very much now. Except for sleeping and being in love. She will take me with her everywhere. Yolanda has been driven out of the Yvonne family. Her dad can't protect her either. They left the Yvonne family together. At that time, she still vowed that her dad would build a business empire for her. And without her dad, the Yvonne family would decline drastically. As a result, her dad couldn't even find a job. The man who was once extremely capable is nothing without the Yvonne family. As for the Yvonne family, when I chatted with Linda about daily life, I deliberately chose several good projects for her. Now it has climbed several steps higher. From time to time, I added fuel to the fire in Linda's ear to make them unable to play the victim. Then I found people to make them addicted to gambling and lose everything. After they had no money, they had to find jobs. They would even be cheated when distributing flyers. They could only live under bridges and move bricks at construction sites. The cruel reality hit Yolanda hard in the face. She wanted to return to the Yvonne family and wanted me to plead for her. I'm not stupid. How could I bring back a competitor? She told me to wait and see. Then she joined forces with Ethan and wanted to sell me to the mountains and give me to an old bachelor. Regardless of whether Yolanda took action in my previous life, I decided to throw them all there. Even Yolanda's dad was also thrown into the mountains. Ethan pretended to be sick and said he was dying. He regretted it and asked me to see him for the last time. They sent me several photos and videos. Ethan was lying on the bed and was about to die. Don't tell me. It looked quite real. It must be AI videos and photos made at a high cost. Since they sent it to me, how could I refuse? On the surface, I went to the appointment alone. In fact, I brought a group of people. 23 as soon as I stepped into the room. Yolanda laughed wildly. Yvonne, aren't you very clever? How did you still fall into my hands? I will cut off the tendons of your hands and feet, throw you into the mountains and give you to an old bachelor. Good. 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 She had already thought about their follow-up. I didn't even pay any attention to her. I turned to look at Ethan. Why are you doing this to me? After all, I am your own daughter. Ethan's eyes were full of hatred. You still have the nerve to ask me? If it weren't for you, I would be someone important. You and I are not compatible. You are a jinx to me. As long as you die, I will soar to great heights. The more miserable you die, the richer I will be. No wonder I died so miserably in my previous life. Just because of such a ridiculous reason. I looked at Yolanda's dad. You are a smart person. How did you end up like this? He showed a doting smile. She is my daughter. No matter what, I will accompany her. Am I a jinx to Ethan? Did you or Yolanda come up with this idea? Does it matter? All right. I understand. He doesn't know how to educate his child, but only indulges infinitely. He deserves it. I had people cut off the tendons of their hands and feet and throw them into the mountains and give them to a group of old bachelors. Then I sent people to watch them. They must not be allowed to run out. In half a year, Yolanda went crazy. In 2 years, they all died. And I smoothly inherited the Yvonne family. The end.